I've been asked so many times to demonstrate Active Directory hacking, and now I've stumbled upon a lab that I was working on, and today I'm going to share with you the different techniques that we can use to abuse Active Directory. We're going to demonstrate four attacking scenarios, and we're going to start off with domain enumeration to collect all the domain objects and their relationships. I'm connected to a workstation. So if I type hostname, it's called WS04, and I'm using the account Paul Cannon, who is part of the SB Cloud Lab domain. So if we do net user domain, we can see actually he's part of domain users and information security. So we don't have privileged groups, but we're going to perform domain enumeration even though we are using just this limited user because we are part of the domain. So to do that, I'm going to use Bloodhound and its PowerShell ingester. So I'm going to import sharphound.ps1 and I'm going to run my function. It's as simple as using invoke bloodhound -collection method. There are a bunch of them. We're going to use all, which covers most of them. I've just gone ahead and renamed invoke bloodhound to just IBH in an attempt to bypass AV. We're going to talk about AV evasion in potential next videos, but for now, we're just going to run it. And so let it run in the background. It's going to generate a zip file for us. So it says here 132 objects are collected, and here is our zip. So we will take this zip and import it into Bloodhound. Bloodhound is an application, desktop application that you can install. It's available open source on GitHub. So I'm using version 3 of Bloodhound, but you can use version 4. I'm going to upload the data using this button right here and then select the zip file. So it's processing the file, it's extracting its JSON files, users, computers, organizational units, GPOs, etc. And it's going to generate a beautiful graph for us to perform our domain enumeration. While it's running, I'm going to just open a PowerShell prompt and verify what are the local admins of this machine. If we are lucky, this current user could be a local admin. Yes, it is a local admin, which means that we can do many things, including dumping the hashes that are stored in the LSAS process. So let's go ahead and directly target the machine that we are connected to. I just want to see what are the sessions that are established on this machine. So if I click on sessions here, I can see that there are two users who have a session on the box. The first one is Bonnie Scaly, and the second one, Mike Ray. So if I click on Mike Ray to look for his privileges, I can see that he is not local admin, doesn't have local admin rights, doesn't have SQL admin rights, and he doesn't have any outbound objects, meaning that he doesn't control anything. What about Bonnie Scaly? So if I take this one, oh, it jumped to 260. That's huge, and that's promising. He can also RDP into a machine, and he has local admin rights, and he's a member of 3 groups. Let's click on those. He's a member of domain users, information technology, and SBPAM admins. What about the outbound object control? If we click on those 260, oh boy, we have a lot. So he controls pretty much all the objects with a right DACL, as you can see here. He also has get changes. He can DC sync. So if we go to queries and look for the query that allows us to find accounts that can perform DC sync, find principals with DC sync rights. If we click on that, as you can see, we have 2 users. First one is Bonnie Scaly, and the second one is John. This means that with this user, we can actually, we have also two other users, administrator and SPAdmin. Okay, so we can control this user, and hence we will control the domain as well. Let's do that. So I'm going to first close this prompt and open a PowerShell prompt with local admin privileges, because remember, our current user is local admin on this machine. And I'm going to load Mimikatz in order to dump the hashes from the LSS process. So it's as simple as running invoke Mimikatz. And from there, I'm just going to run the command invoke Mimikatz. Give it some time, and we should see the golden output. This lab has been developed by Netflix Cloud Lab Engineering, and I've worked with them for an event, and they let me share how to hack this lab on this channel. So if I scroll up, oh, we already see that there's the user Mike Ray has the plain text password right here, but we're not after this one. We're actually after the bonus Kelly user. We also see another one, super admin account, with this password right here. But we want actually to use this one, bonus Kelly. So we will grab his hash. We don't have his plain text password, but Windows allows us to perform what we call Pass-The-Hash attacks. This essentially means that we just need the hash, NTLM hash of bonus Kelly in order to impersonate him. So with that said, I'm going to just run Pass-The-Hash targeting bonus Kelly on this domain and using his NTLM hash, and I'm going to run a PowerShell prompt. Let's give it a try. And as you can see, we have a new PowerShell prompt. Now, if I run who am I, I'm still Paul Cannon, but I have the privilege to perform DC sync. So I can't list the content of the domain controller, which means I'm not a domain admin, but let's try to grab the curb TGT hash of the domain. So we're using, once again, Mimikatz, and I'm going to use the DC sync, and I'm going to grab the user curb TGT. This is the most, let's say, powerful account on the domain controller or on the domain in general, because it allows us to persist our access and generate whatever tokens we want. So I'm just importing Mimikatz once again because that's a new prompt, and I'm going to run it. So if everything goes well, we should have the hash of curb TGT. From there, we will generate a golden ticket to allow us to access anything on the domain as domain admin. Bear in mind that generating a golden ticket is a big red flag in the face of the blue team, so you might want to look for other ways to persist your access. Here we go. We'll take the curb TGT NTLM hash, this one right here, and we're going to use Mimikatz once again to generate a golden ticket, and I'm going to inject in this golden ticket the SID of my domain, the curb TGT hash, and a user, which in this case I just named it I don't exist at all. It could be anything. It's going to be forged with our own values, whatever you put in them, because we have the hash of the curb TGT. All right, the ticket has been generated and saved into a file called ticket.kirby. So I'm going to use that ticket in order to launch a PowerShell prompt with the domain admin privileges. So the command is kerberos pass the ticket and then the path to my newly generated ticket. Run it. We should be able to have not to run a new PowerShell prompt, but to inject our ticket into our current session. And from there, we will be able to list the content of the C drive on the domain controller We can also connect to the domain controller. We can do pretty much whatever we want because we would have just compromised the entire domain. Okay, the ticket has been injected. And now if we do moment of truth, DC02 C drive, and hit enter, we indeed have access to the C drive. All right, so that was how we could use Mimikatz to extract the hash of a user and perform DCSync, generate a golden ticket. In the next episode, we're going to explore other attack paths and learn more techniques.